Hey, Ren, your cousin is the coolest. We're Lodge Brothers. We both belong to the Loyal Order of Stupids.
Ja, und now we show you our secret handshake.
In April '92, work on the second season began to wear on John, as he had involved himself in every process of the cartoons. He said, quote, "We don't even have enough time to do the ones we're doing. Television's just insane. I hate it." Spumco placed an ad in Comic Buyer's Guide looking for more artists. Applicants were told to fax their drawings of Ren and Stimpy to Spumco. New hires were Scott Wills, Peter Avanzino, and Eleanor Blake. Richard Purcell was bumped up to writing duties. To work at Spumco meant working unpaid overtime, getting paid under union rates, and always forcing yourself to draw better for the sake of John and the show. This was a group of the most dedicated of artists. Quote, "We were ready to gnaw anybody's head off who said Ren and Stimpy was boring or for kids," said layout artist Doug Lawrence. Quote, "Anytime anybody wanted to tell us bullshit about Ren and Stimpy, we wanted to kill them." The quality showed, as now the show would be shipped off to Metrocell in California to use a digital ink and paint process, making it the first cartoon to ever do so. Episodes that were considered the best ones were sent to Carbuncle for animating, and the other ones dubbed as filler were sent to Rough Draft Korea, a studio started just for Ren and Stimpy. With so much going on, John was forced to give up directing duties to Bob Camp, Jim Smith, Vincent Waller, and Chris Riccardi. Quote, "I started directing because there was no way John could have done them all," said Camp. "I was hanging around at every recording, editing session, and mix since the pilot. I was willing and able to take on the task, and I think John was grateful for the help." Camp's cartoons were seen as secondary, and more to be fed through the pipeline. Quote, "Nickelodeon read the stories and they said, 'These sound like cheaters,'" John said. I said, "Yes, they're typical cartoons, but believe me, if we get Bob to storyboard these, they will be funny. It won't matter that they don't have stories or that they don't have conflict. He'll draw them funny and the kids will like it." While Bob's cartoons were made to force out the pipeline, John continued to completely engross himself in his episodes. At one point while working on Sven Hoek, John became enraged enough to tear work off the wall and sling insults their way, claiming it consisted of, quote, "candy cane colors." The department responded by taking a picture of Ren and Stimpy with candy canes shoved in their rectums and christened the department Candy Cane Lane. Scott Wills remembers, quote, "John came in and he looks at it and just stands there and goes, 'Fuck,' then walks away. That's all he said." Around this time, John explained that he could not make the 20-episode requirement to Nick, and again his contract was changed, and the second season was shortened from 20 episodes to 13. Nick took this personally and began holding payments, and John began using his own money to keep the show going. He said, quote, "They don't have the ability to deliver episodes on time. They wouldn't let us deliver them on time. Every time we'd make a suggestion on how to make a schedule and budget realistically, they didn't let us do it. Or they'd agree and weeks down the line, change their minds." In June, the budget of the show had gone over by $234,000, costing about $18,000 per episode. It was decided to save costs. Episodes Fake Dad, A Visit to Anthony, and The Royal Canadian Kilted Yaxman would be extended into half-hour episodes. The episode Big Baby Scam was sent overseas to cut more costs, only because Vincent Waller was willing to go to Rough Draft to supervise the process. Now with Camp and Waller delivering on schedule, Nick's patience with John was wearing thin. That same month, it was announced Nintendo, Mattel would merchandise Ren and Stimpy products, and Marvel announced a comic starting in September. Much to John's disapproval, much of the comic's art was handled by Bakshi worker Mike Kazala, and he forbade the rest of his staff from contributing to it. At this time, Nick reported that it truly understood what Ren and Stimpy was about now, and that it would make things easier on Spumco, which obviously turned out false. Will McRobb was the editor at this time, and seemed a more obvious fit as he had created The Adventures of Pete and Pete, which was much more in the same vein as Ren and Stimpy. John just trusted Will greatly, yet Bob Camp and Jim Gomez thought of him as another writer. His critical questions about the episodes would annoy John, and Nick had implemented him as a way of getting rid of the innuendo in cartoons. One example was during the writing of Rubber Nipple Salesman. Will told Vincent Waller, quote, "You can't use the word nipple without having it preceded by the word rubber." Scenes and entire episodes again were being axed by Nick. A fart lighting joke in Lair of the Lummox was cut. The entire episode Onward and Upward was rejected, and then came Stimpy's cartoon show. In the episode, Stimpy works day and night on his cartoon, to which Ren promptly cuts scenes and just makes things generally harder for him. Nick didn't take the joke lightly. McRobb wrote John back, quote, "Maybe you thought we had a sense of humor about ourselves. We don't." Libby Simon said, quote, "One person would approve of something, and then a whole group of people didn't approve of it. Meanwhile, we were already moving on and getting the work done." Bob Camp also said that Nick had 3 R's in their approval process: resistance, reluctance, and resentment. Jim Ballantine started warning Nick that going back on approved stories was, quote, "demoralizing to the staff to have what has been labored over changed or thrown out at the last minute." At this time, Coffey began to notice a change in John. During the first season, he seemed just happy the show was on air, but once it got popular, his will to negotiate was gone. Quote, "It became a very difficult struggle, one that you normally shouldn't have to have." August 15th, the second season aired with In the Army and Powdered Toast Man. John went back on his influences to Powdered Toast Man by having both Gary Owens and Frank Zappa involved. Gary voiced Powdered Toast Man, and Zappa was the voice of the Pope. In late August, Spumco delivered Man's Best Friend, just days before its scheduled airing on the 22nd. Jim Smith said, quote, "They saw the storyboard, they approved it, and when the final cartoon came out, everything in there was in the storyboard. All of a sudden, they decided they didn't want it." Nick was outraged and banned the episode. Still to this day, it has never aired on the network and was never even aired on television until 10 years later. This is what many consider the final straw with Nick. And Man's Best Friend was what Nick hated about the show: it failing to stay on budget, on time, and John's refusal to compromise. On the 22nd, Ren's Toothache was aired. At this time, John was working on the storyboards of Dog Show. Coffey said, quote, "Dog Show had to be almost completely rewritten. Once again were violence issues and scenes involving the judge of the competition. Originally, he was an overtly effeminate man with a ponytail, and Stimpy is told in one scene to wink at the judge. As Liquor approaches afterwards, he says, 'Let's just keep this strictly professional, Mac.' Instead, we get a line from Liquor in the finished product saying the judge is, quote, 'a man's man,' an obvious joke when the viewer knows the previous line. With so many changes happening, John lost interest in the cartoon and tossed it to Riccardi to direct. At this time, too, Nick received a complaint from the FCC over the ending of Powdered Toast Man, where the hero burns the Constitution and Bill of Rights for warmth. Kay Clare wrote, quote, "I was so repulsed, I couldn't calm down. I was outraged when I saw that program. I want that cartoon pulled from the air because it has no social value whatsoever." This was ironically written, even though she seemed okay with Powdered Toast Man's assistant being dressed like a Catholic schoolgirl and the Pope grabbing Powdered Toast Man's ass. Further airings had the offending scene deleted. Nick moved Ren and Stimpy to the SNCC television block to help ease tensions. Roy Smith said, quote, "It's a shame that John was ahead of his time. Nickelodeon was just starting out, and the shows were meant for kids. There was no Adult Swims or MTV cartoon outlets there at that time. Ren and Stimpy opened the door to all that." August 29th, Out West and Rubber Nipple Salesman aired. The later's ending was an homage to the Three Stooges. At this time, the Ren and Stimpy show was starting to sink under its own weight. By early September, they were $500,000 over budget, and again, way behind schedule. Tensions rose and rose, and at one point, John sent Nick a letter through his lawyer. It stated that because the show was a success, and the network was constantly interfering, Spumco would deliver the episodes when they could, and they would cost what they would cost. With the show's costs and with advertisers breathing down their necks, Nick did what they felt they had to do.